Have you ever been in that place in life where you just feel disoriented and you are in a dark place, feels lonely, and you don't know where God is? You feel like you're walking your way through life, not by seeing, but rather by feeling the edges of the room with your hands. Well, I'm here to tell you that the apostles Paul and Silas are actually in a very similar place, and they teach us something really significant about God's perspective on a situation like that. They were also literally in a room where it was damp, dark, cold, lonely, and probably really uncomfortable, to put it mildly, in a brutal place called a Roman prison. You see, they didn't arrive there because they were murderers, or they were thieves, or they had assaulted someone, or that there was a dispute. No, they were there for casting out a demon. The reason why that was so controversial was because the lady that they had casted the demon out of, she was making money for those who were overseeing her or really owned her back then. And because of this, these people's main conduit of money was gone, because her demonic oppression and influence was something that was making them a lot of money. And because of that, they went and got them in trouble with the Roman authorities by saying they're disrupting our business. Even while they're alone in this prison that was a brutal place to be with no hope of getting out anytime soon, they began to sing praises to God. And suddenly the whole prison was singing with them. And in one of the craziest moments of the early church, the shackles actually fall off. There's a crazy huge earthquake, and the apostles see that the door of the prison just swings open. We begin to read from the jailer's perspective. Acts 16 says this. The jailer woke up, and when he saw the prison doors open, he drew his sword and was about to kill himself because he thought the prisoners had escaped. But Paul shouted, "Don't harm yourself. We are all here." There's a lot of miracles happening in this passage. Many focus on the miracle of Paul and Silas leading a prison in worship with no hope of getting out, but still worshiping and thanking God. Many focus on the miracle of the chains falling off and the door being swung open and say, if you pray hard enough, victory will come. And that might be all right. But really what I want to focus on here is the miracle of staying. How could we learn a lesson from Paul and Silas's actions after the doors swing open? If you continue to read on the passage, you'll find out that they actually led the jailer and his family to Christ. Without them staying, that would have never happened. If they had left, the jailer would have been killed and his entire family killed as well. The jailer was awestruck not because the doors had swung open or that they were singing praises. He was awestruck because they had stayed. What kind of a God do these people follow? If the opportunity for them to escape is there, and yet they stay. That's backwards for you and me, and I'm a Christian. I have the sense that many people in our age today ask God for escape. And I'm not talking about situations of abuse or harm or things like that. But a lot of people do escape their lives by going on their phones, giving them a little bit of escapism. Or even playing video games. I have a couple controllers right here. And video games can often offer escapism from our lives. Or it might be Netflix or the next new show, just something to get us out of the life we live right now. All around us, we see ads for a product that will make your life better, or an experience for 2 weeks of escape from your life. And all these things revolve around us wanting to leave and escape from what we have right now. Andy Squires, a musician, says this: I can't help but think about how my prayers are about escaping my life rather than staying in it. What if God isn't calling us to leave, but rather to stay? What if an open door is not always the way we should go? Just because a door is open, that doesn't mean that's where God's presence is. But we also glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance. Perseverance, character, and character, hope. And hope does not put us to shame, because God's love has been poured into our hearts through the Holy Spirit who has been given to us. The Christian life is not about escaping from reality, but rather engaging in it with love, patience, and long suffering. There is no shortcut to looking like Jesus. And if you feel a little bit guilty, it's okay, because Jesus went through these same exact temptations that we do. In Jesus' temptation, when he kind of faced off against the enemy, Satan tempts him with all of these temptations that you and I can relate with. It's money, power, fame. And through these things, he could get what he wanted to be done, accomplished, right? Why couldn't Jesus use money to give it away to everyone and to tell people about himself, or fame? How come he couldn't have done that? Or a kingdom? He could use the kingdom and, bring God's kingdom to earth in a very literal sense. But Jesus knew that's not the way to go. Those things would be Jesus subverting God's plan, escaping from life, rather than engaging in the dirt with us. Jesus stayed. Now hear me on this. God's main work in your life is not pulling you out of your circumstances, although that can definitely be something that God has done and will do. His main work isn't pulling you out of your circumstances, but rather his main work is shaping you into a person that looks more like himself. That sometimes means that all you can do is just trust Christ, even though he's leading you through the valley of the shadow of death, somewhere where we would never go on our own. But Christ says this: "Do not fear, for I am with you until the end of the age." So let's go out this week and let's look more like Jesus. I'll see you soon.